Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander Clash podcast, where the Commander Clash crew talks all things Commander. And this week, we're talking about cards that kind of go crazy with your Commander. So this is stuff like Fierce Guardianship, Deflecting Swat, Jeska's Will, Akroma's Will. Those are the most popular ones. You probably know a lot of those because they're Commander staples. But there's a lot of other cards that really want you to have your Commander. And those are the cards that we're going to be digging into today. Some of our favorite, some of the best cards that really get powered up once you have your Commander on the battlefield. Before we get into that, we got a crew to introduce. Kicking things off with the Asian Avenger, probably better known as Krim. How's it going today, Krim?
Whoa, you called me by moniker? Okay, hello, hi, how are you? I'm excited. I love that Magic has increased the number of cards that care about you having your Commander, so I'm excited to talk about this list.
I could probably do a whole podcast debating whether I like that there's a lot of cards referring to your Commander in Magic now, because I like some of them, sometimes not so much, but anyway, that's another topic. We also have Brewer's Kitchen. Phil, how's it going today, Phil?
Hey-o. Coming in from a new, fresh
Looking
room,
good.
still in construction, but it's quite the cool place. So
It looks pretty
finally,
sweet.
things are going back to normal.
Awesome.
Yes,
no
thank you.
no
It
pipes
is pretty
bursting or
nice.
anything in the last couple of weeks.
No.
So where things are looking
Yeah.
up. And then, of course, Budget Commander Temur. How's it going, Temur?
I'm doing good, doing well. There are a couple cards that I'm very hyped to talk about and gush about because I think they're kind of underrated.
There's
And I
some.
know you're not going to be too happy about it, Seth, but I don't know why. So I'm very excited.
I will explain once we get into it. We have a lot to talk about today, but before we get into all that, a word from our sponsors. Our show today is brought to you by Foil Armor. Do you have problems with your foils curling? Well, Foil Armor is the ultimate solution to flattening your foils. It's a two-way humidity pack that you simply put inside an airtight container with your cards, and Foil Armor will absorb and release moisture, making your cards completely flat. Put it back in your storage box to keep your cards flat forever, and you can head over to foilarmor.com and use the code MTGGoldfish to get 15% off. Our show is also brought to you by Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. If you ever get tired of the hassles of buy listing, you can skip them with Card Conduit. You can use a curated service via sending as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more, and pay just a 5% service fee. And if you want to do a bit of work, you can use a sorted service where you list and sort your cards in advance and pay just a 2% fee. Either way, you're going to get a detailed report with the results in a fast payment once your order is processed, and you can even get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/MTGGoldfish. Card Conduit, it's the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So thanks to our sponsors for supporting the show. And now it's time for the comment of the week. So last week, leading up to the big unban announcement, which went down, I guess a week and a half ago now, we talked about cards that we would like to unban in Commander. And our top comment comes from at NSM John, who says, 4 of the 6 cards you agreed on got unbanned, so good call on those. So I think we actually did a pretty good job. If you go back in that podcast, like a lot of the cards we all agreed should get unbanned were the ones that got unbanned. We also had a lot of other cards that we thought were safe to unban that didn't get unbanned. But Wizards, if you read that announcement, they were kind of like, oh, a lot of these cards could get unbanned in the future, like, so maybe they come off in the future. But I think overall, I felt like our predictions did pretty well.
We kind of kicked it. We kind of kicked ass on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's those were kind of low-hanging fruit.
It was kind of, yeah.
Given this interesting. I wish I invested in it before, but yeah.
I'm also glad they're taking it slow and steady.
Yeah. I will also give you credit,
Told them with braids,
you were
right?
the one on the braids, and both me and Phil were kind of like, and you won us over, and they unbanned braids, so you were the one that really called that one.
So I'm playing it next week on Commander Clash, right?
Yo.
I mean, actually, it's probably fine with fast mana being banned, right? As long as you're not turn oneing braids, I'm kind of fine with that.
No, my end goal is, no, I'm not actually going to spoil it. I want this to happen so much, so I'm not going to spoil it, but I have a plan.
I'm scared. Anyway, let's talk about some cards. They get supercharged once you have your Commander out. So as I mentioned in the intro, you know some of these cards like Fierce Guardianship, Deflecting Swat, Flawless Maneuver, a lot of the Will cycle, the old ones, Jeska's Will, Akroma's Will. So we're not going to get into all those because I'm assuming most of you already know those cards. But we got some pretty spicy picks today. So let's kick things off with Krim. Krim, what's a card that gets really buffed once you have your Commander?
This is a new one. I really like a lot of the cards from Tarkir Dragonstorm. specifically Ironwill Forger. This one is 3 and white. It's a 3/3 Orc Artificer with Lieutenant. At the beginning of your combat, or at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, target non-legendary creature you control gains Myriad. Like, that's just like really Myriad is something that I'm falling more and more in love with every day as more commanders come out, as more just like it's such a fun multiplayer mechanic, right? So I really just like this card, and clearly there's going to be a few ways to abuse ETBs, things along those lines. So yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward on why this is good. And on top of that, it itself is not like a super high investment on mana. It's only 4 mana. So I really like that.
I imagine
I
they
think it
printed
uses
this.
ability immediately.
Ooh,
So what?
Like, you can cast it like pre-combat main and then go to combat and use its ability.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
quite nice.
But you need a commander and a creature to attack with. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of sad that you need kind of 3 creatures. I guess that
So
could
sad.
work with itself. But
that's
so
kind of
would
the-
it be
Mm,
broken at
biggest-
3 mana? At 3, I'd say let's go.
I
4,
think
it's
the
like-
big-
when I read this card in spoiler season, I thought, hell yeah. And then I thought about the play pattern, and it's like right below hell yeah. It's like 3 mana. How about that?
I
I don't think the curve matters that bad in a casual setting, right? Like, I
Yeah,
mean, you're
you
gonna
might be
set up
right,
pretty
maybe I'm-
easily. Like if this were like 1v1 and I need to kill you before turn 4, sure, that makes sense. But like the games go
Myriad
long.
and 1v1.
Yeah, yeah, Myriad's also terrible in 1v1. But yeah, like the games go long. And this is always a nice piece to have out.
I will
for sure,
say
yeah.
it is a cool card, but there is one reason I'm a little skeptical of it, which is it only works with non-legends, and I feel like I've been burnt with some cards in the past that I was really excited for. What's the Keldheim enchantment that like whenever you choose a creature type and whenever you cast a creature, you get a copy of it. Like some of
Something
those cards.
Liljara?
Yeah, Reflections of Liljara. Yeah, that's the one. But that was a card I was really hyped for, and then I put it in some decks, and I found I was just like half the time legend ruling myself, and I was like, oh, that's kind of awkward. So that doesn't mean the card's bad, but it is worth keeping in mind. If you're a deck that has a lot of legends in it, this is going to be a little bit less good than if you're a deck that has your commander and a bunch of non-legends in it. So just keep that part in mind, because it literally cannot even target a legendary creature. So that's just like right out.
So this card actually came in a Mardu aggro deck in Turkish Dragonstorm, and in that home it's really good because looking at the 99, it's a lot of like mobilize effects, a lot of myriad creatures in general, and a lot of them were non-legendary. So like those type of like Mardu swingy kind of Ishin style decks, I think are good homes for it. But also, I noticed that this is not that bad in certain Blink archetypes, because Blink decks, typically the ETB creatures you're running, like they're Muldrifters or whatever, they're not legendary. So I know, like I have an Abdel Adrian deck it's not the best at attacking, but other versions of Blink I think would be good, because it just so happens that I think most Blink decks, the Blink targets are usually non-legendary already, so it doesn't have that much interference there, and that can be a cool way of reusing it to the battlefield triggers as well.
Yeah, good.
I've
good
also been
Panharmonica
digging
card.
it in Jeskai as well.
Mm.
What do
Yeah.
you
I've
play
been
it
digging
in
deeper into
Jeskai?
Jeskai. Huh?
What Jeskai deck do you play it in, or just like in general?
It's nice to have as a top end in like some of the example, like my monk deck. A lot of the monks
Oh,
are
yeah.
not legendary.
That makes sense.
So you can do a lot. You can get a bunch of rando copies of things, but along with that, you have Abzan, because Seth, did you know that Siege Rhino is not legendary? Neither is Skirmish Rhino.
I could. That's, now you got me. Now, okay, this card's awesome. I'm in. I'm
Are
in
you
now.
sold now?
I'm sold.
I actually want to put it in Abdel Adrian now that I'm thinking about it, because it says if you control your commander, but it doesn't specify creature commander. So if you have like Candlekeep Sage on the battlefield already,
Background, yeah.
yeah, if a background's on the battlefield already, then you just swing in with your like whatever Spirited Companion. That the original will die, but you just drew 2 more cards. So it's like I don't know. It's pretty cool. I like it.
It is.
I'm
It is
down.
pretty cool. I like this
I'm down.
card. Well, let's move on to the next one. Temur, you're up. Give us a card that likes having your commander around.
Okay, I cheated because I'm not just giving you cards. I'm giving you 3 cards because I'm talking about a mechanic. So the cards / mechanic that I kind of love is from a set that not a lot of people played, and I think that's a little bit of a shame. It's the Assassin's Creed set, and it's the free running mechanic. So the free running mechanic says you may cast a spell for its free running cost if you dealt combat damage to a player this turn with an assassin or commander. So ignore the assassin bit. Nobody cares about that, actually. It's the commander part that's really
Brutal.
exciting. So all these spells are basically overcosted if you hard cast them without the free running cost. However, if you cast them for the free running cost, they're undercosted. So my top 3 favorite ones, Eagle Vision, it's 5 mana, draw 3 cards, or 2 mana, draw 3 cards if you cast it for free running. Overpowering attack, 5 mana, take an extra combat, or 3 mana if you pay the free running cost. And then finally, Viewpoint Synchronization, 5 mana, search your library for 3 basic lands, put 2 on the battlefield and 1 to your hand. So it's like a explosive vegetation meets a cultivate, basically. 5 mana hardcast, or 3 mana, the cultivate mana, for free running. All 3 of these cards, basically, if I'm in any commander deck that wants its commander out a lot and has evasion / wants to be hitting people. So I'm not just saying in Voltron decks. I'm just saying, like, if you have like a 2-drop commander or whatever that has built-in evasion, just throw in these cards, because like 2 mana, draw 3 with Eagle Vision is like bananas. Viewpoint Synchronization, 3 mana, ramp 2, put 1 in your hand. They're so good. I've just been putting them in all my decks over and over again. Anything that's like meets the criteria, and I love these. But I know, Seth, you mentioned a little. You hinted at the beginning that you did not like these, so I want to hear from you. Why?
Okay, so I am kind of
Value.
philosophically opposed to these cards. It's not that, like, the cards themselves, whatever, they can be pretty powerful in the way Temur explained. I already am a little bit against things that refer specifically to your commander, just like in a broad sense, because it feels a little bit forced. And then these ones really caught my eye, because if you look at all the cards on our list today, every single one of them comes from a commander product. These come from a modern set, and it was very, very jarring to open up my modern set for of constructed cards and have the word commander be like referenced on those cards. It's just very, very weird.
Wait, these are modern legal?
Yes,
Yeah,
this
I
was a
thought
modern
this was
set. This was
commander
an
cards.
actual
Yep.
modern set, yeah. So that's
Did
the
any
part
of them
that,
see
like,
modern play?
Nope.
there's been
No.
well,
Well,
like
Fatal
super
Push.
janky stuff, but not really.
Fatal
So
Push
that's
not play
the
for
part that kind of got me. It was kind of like commander
What?
creep, kind of like when we got Modern Horizons 3 and they did commander precons,
Yeah.
and it was weird. This was weird in that same way, where it's like, oh, really? You made this
Fair.
modern set and it's got to say commander on there. But as far as how the cards play, my only criticism gameplay wise is they do kind of incentivize efficient commanders, right? As you mentioned, cheap and also evasive. I feel like those commanders are already really good. I don't know if the like super cheap commanders really need more help when like big expensive commanders are kind of clunky, and I kind of like cards that help those a little bit more. But these cards are all really powerful, and if you're playing a deck that Temur says, despite my misgivings about how they printed them, like they are very powerful options, right? You're getting a pretty like at least a 1 and maybe a 2 mana discount as opposed to what you would normally pay for the effect.
I play with overpowering attack a lot. The card is pretty sweet. 3 mana extra combat is kind of wild. So
Yeah.
I think this card this mechanic is more of what I like, because it's kind of wild to talk about where we are as commander players right now, and like in the design space at least, because I used to want more and more things to reward you for playing commander, right? Because remember the early clashes, the early commander clashes where Seth would just never cast a commander the
Still
whole
don't.
game.
Now
Yeah,
I
it still
do
does it.
occasionally.
Yeah, but now, see, there's enough cards to where you got Seth, the guy who never uses his commander, to actually occasionally play it, right? So this
Just
is
because I
this
didn't hit
is-
my card draw and had nothing else to do.
and so he really needed that eagle vision. So like that, I like these cards. I think Temur touched up on them. I think they're all pretty solid, and they're aggressively costed
Yeah.
if you connect. So the only thing here is I think overpowering attack might actually be kind of nuts, right? Because
A little
you get to do that
overpowering.
attack again.
I kind of come at this for a different reason. And what I really appreciate about this so much is I kind of feel like Commander needs to have more and more incentives to be aggressive, because if there's not a powerful incentive, like powerful cards to reward combat, I think the natural tendency and the correct tendency in multiplayer is not to engage in combat until you have an actual lethal. Because like if you're attacking, you're making an opponent, you're aggravating whoever you're attacking. You're also leaving yourself vulnerable to retaliation if you don't have your defenders and everything. So I think like naturally it makes sense in multiplayer for people to just kind of hang back, dirtle, and solitaire. And I think these are powerful. These are good reasons to incentivize. Just like Monarch is, I think, an excellent mechanic for multiplayer to get people to actually move forward and swing. I think like these cards being I think they're very, very strong. I think it's good because they're only strong if you actually move for combat, and I think that's a good incentive.
I'm glad they also added a cost. Right, this is because this is kind of like the middle area between like the free spells.
Oh God!
It incentivizes you to have your commander without it being like free.
And you
right?
have to do something. You have to hit.
Yeah, you need to work.
Have your commander out. Yeah.
So this is definitely
like
in the right direction.
I don't know. Like obviously power them down, and like if viewpoint synchronization would be like a wild or giant growth for 3. Oh, not giant growth, but rampant growth for 3. But then you can cast it for free if you hit with your commander. That would be kind of cool. I've run into the situation where somebody curves turn 2 commander into turn 3 viewpoint synchronization. That's so gnarly. I have no deck to play them in.
It's open the way,
and I'm pretty sure I forget. Yeah, that's open the way.
Yeah,
you
need some basics,
3, and then you untap with technical 7.
Close.
Crazy.
3 basics.
Oh yeah, a friend of mine played this and didn't find.
Seth and I may
basics.
not. Actually, no. I think I'm off the Seth train now. I am likely to hit. Seth may not hit.
Let me ask you guys before we move on to the next card. What's the mana value of your commander where you're interested in this? 2? 3?
Oh,
what's the cap? Like once your commander costs how much? Are you like, I don't know if I want to play Freerunning cards?
This is a great point that you bring up because I think almost everything on our list outside of like 1 or 2 cards, I would not play if the commander's like 7 mana or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's kind of true.
This is a cycle that I think, and also one thing I hope they explore in future design space is that spells that check your commander but are specifically made for high costing.
We did get that one cycle that you flash back and it costs less equal to the mana value of your commander, but they weren't quite good enough, so no one really ever or maybe people don't play the big commanders enough. I've never actually seen them in the wild, but I think they could do something like that, but power them up a little bit more. And that might be a way to help the bigger commanders.
Like this spell is free if your commander is like 7, okay, maybe not free, but does more if your commander's like costs like 7 or greater.
I'm just worried about that. Like I agree that that's a good idea to help, the weaker high mana value commanders, but my worry is that there are already the popular high mana value commanders are already very strong, like Sauron, Mirim, and stuff like that.
Hooray.
Or like the top most popular commander in the past 2 months obviously is the Dragon. I don't think the Dragon needs more help. So I feel like those type of cards, while their intent is good to help high mana value commanders that struggle, I think like the bulk of high mana value commanders that are out there in the wild are just the powerful ones. So you'd be helping like the 99% of the decks that you're helping out are actually just going to be the ones that don't need the help. And then the 1% that you're helping, it's good, but like, I don't know. It's a little bit sussy.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. All right, let's keep moving on. My first pick, I got a card that I actually played on Commander Clash kind of recently, and now that I'm an aggro player sometimes, this card really appeals to me, and it's Kediss Emberclaw Familiar. So it's a 2-mana 1/1 Elemental Lizard, and it has Partner, which I guess is relevant if you're playing it as a commander, but that's not what we're really playing this as. We're playing this in the 99 to help our other commanders, because its ability is, when a commander you control deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. So this is a 2-mana creature, very, very efficient, that essentially triples your damage with your commander because you can't control it all, but it's adding a huge amount of damage to the battlefield whenever you gain damage with your commander. So this is a card that if you're playing any sort of aggro commander and you're in red, I feel like it's worth considering at least. Obviously, if you're not attacking with your commander much, or you're playing some dirtily commander that's more about value than attacking, then this isn't going to be as appealing. But if you're in red and you're getting in there with your commander, any sort of Voltron style deck or aggro deck, I feel this is like one of the first cards that you should add. And I found myself wondering, why haven't I been playing this card all along? Like, this card seems so incredibly busted, but yeah,
you don't play commander and you don't attack with it.
Yeah, you have to play your commander.
It's not a mean card. Yeah, it's not,
Guys,
it's
did
not
you
a
know
mean
this
card.
Step one. Play commander.
I guess I was
possible.
I guess the deck I played it in was Yoshimaru and Ragrak, where I was like,
I'm
just gonna have two commanders on turn
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
and it seemed really good.
This is like a auto include in my Wolverine deck, and
Mhm.
lots of decks that can abuse this are just going to be, like you said, aggro. But Wolverine dealing double the damage it deals double to everybody. So then then Kediss copies that damage, right? It's also, this card makes it so that if you have a commander you're getting aggro with, and you use like Witch's Clinic, which is a land I love, which gives a
so much
commander lifelink.
Triple life.
You gain so much life back.
Oh, this.
Yeah.
Yo.
It's also really
So-
good with damage triggers that aren't combat damage triggers. So, for example, a very popular pairing with Kediss is Malcolm, Keen-Eyed Navigator, which says whenever a pirate you control deals damage to a player, you create a treasure token. So if you hit with Malcolm, Kediss will deal that damage to the other two opponents. And while it's not combat damage, it still triggers Malcolm, and you get 3 treasures instead of just 1 in a one swing. So there's like extra
Malcolm will deal the
synergies
damage,
to
right?
do. Pardon?
Malcolm will do the damage, right? It
Yeah,
says
Malcolm
it
does
deals
it-
damage, yeah.
Am I wrong on this?
Yeah, but it works if Malcolm has lifelink or is a pirate. So
Yes. Yeah. Wait, does Kediss say is the commander does it? Yeah.
Whenever
a
Yeah,
commander
whenever-
you control deals
Yeah,
combat
damage
damage
to
to
an
an
So
opponent,
Malcolm
it
is the one.
deals,
Yeah, okay. I
Yeah,
had
it works.
I had a brain.
it wouldn't
fart,
work with
sorry.
Kediss and Malcolm if not.
Yes.
But
Good.
I died to Kediss quite some times before, and it's always scary. It's always like the last card they play. It's like, oh yeah, I can kill one person. No, actually, don't worry, guys. I can end this right here, and then
It's always funny too, like
it
when the
happens.
person you want to kill has like a bunch of blockers, and you're like, well, I can't get through
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But I see that other
But-
person's open, so boom.
I mean, that's a lot of the
promise I
power
won't
of this
attack
card.
you.
Yeah, I promise I won't attack you. Yes.
But I mean, that
Okay.
really is what makes the card good, though, is like usually there's someone that doesn't have their defenses set up, and other people might have their defenses set up, and this is the way you can get around that like really effectively. So yeah, Kediss,
It's
I
so
kinda
funny.
I kind of love it.
This little lizard is also so good that I think by now people know that shenanigans are about to go down, and this will either die or you will die, right?
Yeah.
So like, I love this card, and funny enough, a little backstory. You know how we have like loot, and we have tiny bones, and I forgot. Like I just want there to be like a cute watch full of little critters in Magic, but they're all heinous looking, like they are haunting, right? And I want Kediss to be the red one. I want Skrelv to be the white one. Loot's already locking it down in green. Blue's got
Oh,
Fibblethep and Tony Bones in black. You have the cute watch. I'm just saying.
My
it's right
God, you're
here.
right.
I can see that. All right, let's move on to Phil. Phil, give us a card that works really well with the commander out.
All right. I think I've talked about this card on the podcast before, and I played it on Clash before, and it's a new card. It's Will of the Temur. It is 6 mana, but it's worth it. Trust me. It's choose one. If you control your commander, you can choose both. It's a will. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent, anything on the battlefield, except it's a 4/4 dragon with flying, or target player draws cards equal to the greatest mana value among permanents you control. So that triggers after you make the copy. So even if you're empty boarded, I guess then okay, let's say you're empty boarded and your commander is a background. So you can copy, I guess you could go, whatever. So you can copy something and then draw cards equal to its mana value if that's the highest thing. You could also copy Smothering Tithe and maybe land. most likely some crazy creature. It
You're
also
just gonna
turns stuff
copy
that shouldn't be a
Sugar's
token.
itself.
Yeah, that's what I was to say. You could also make a 4/4 Caretaker's Talent that can copy itself and then draw cards of everything, and then it also draws cards with it. Yeah, ooh, love it. Obviously, love it. And I put it in quite a bunch of decks.
I feel like this might be a
Yes.
staple. I feel like I also am really high on this card. Out of the new Will cycle, this is my favorite of the bunch. I kind of view it like Blue
feels
Ricar's
green.
expertise. Like, yeah, it looks, to me, it reminds me of, those green card draw spells. The
Yeah.
twist is you're drawing equal to mana value rather than a creature's power, which I think is actually better for blue, since blue
Might
isn't
be
really
better, yeah.
necessarily the big creature color. But and you can hit your opponent's stuff, which is a nice bonus. So if your opponent has some high mana value stuff, you can always get the token copy of that. So I love this card too. I don't know. I don't think you really got to build around it. I'm just, for the time being, just going to jam this in my blue decks for value, kind of like I would Rishkar's expertise in a green deck, and hope that it's good enough. I'm curious what Krim and Temur think, though, because I feel like you guys are not as high on this card as me and Phil are.
That's good.
I noticed that too, and I
Yeah.
feel like Tover and I are just like, it's fine. It's like it doesn't it's
Yeah.
it's a fine card. It doesn't like jump off the page to me at all.
You guys just do not appreciate drawing cards. I feel bad for you.
mean-
I feel bad for people that don't understand the joy of just sitting there with 20 cards in hand and doing nothing.
The real joy for me is just I hope that one day somebody will cast Will of the Temur and I have a deflecting swat in my hand and be like, target player draws cards, eh?
Oh,
I just want a notion
delicious.
piece, freshly minted game changer.
Oh, deflecting
all the
swat
cards I
freshly
want to play
minted.
that would punish these greed spells are now game changers.
Yo, there's a igneous trap. You have to get on that.
no, you
Cerebral
still,
vortex.
you can still play the cat, right? They called that one out
Oh, God.
specifically. You can still play.
You can
You
still
can still
look at
play
it.
this one.
Collector.
Omen,
Oh,
Bombs
sorry.
Collector, yeah. That one's fine.
Okay.
I think this one's fine. It's 6 mana sorcery speed. Yeah, it's not bad. I ordered a copy for my Ganex Feywild Visitor deck because it makes a dragon. And I want it to be as dragony as possible, or spell
I-
backgrounds.
I
But it's
think
like-
the reason why it
eh.
doesn't I'm not like, oh my god, foam finger up like for Will of the Temur, just because it kind of is boring. it's
No
like
way.
it's like just one of those draw
No,
draw
it does
spell number
all the-
69,420. Yeah, of
Yes.
course. Sure, like you get to clone something and it gets
Ah,
4/4
copy
dragon. Like,
token.
I don't
that's
think it's
the
two words,
most
I know.
interesting part. That's the most interesting part, to be honest with you. Like that you can make
Yeah, for
a
sure.
copy of anything and have it be a 4/4 dragon. Like that's cool. But
Yeah,
like
I think if you cast this without your commander, you should probably make very good use of the first mode. Like if you cast this as 6 mana, draw 6, that is kind of boring. But if you should probably pick the first mode then.
Oh,
But
wait. So hyped
6
if it
mana
was
copy
insane.
something is
Mana.
not that great, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
that kind of
Depending
inefficient.
on what you copy. But
Yeah, I guess
you
it does
kinda want
depend on
your
what you
commander.
copy. Yeah.
I'd
But you
just be
need both
sweating
modes.
buckets. Like, I don't know. If it was instant, I'd be like, hell yeah, instant classic, absolute
instant,
cinema.
I would
Instant would be
I would
crazy.
love
Yeah.
this.
Okay,
I would
high
love
cinema.
this.
But like, sorcery, I just sweat buckets. Like, I have to make sure everybody's tapped out because I have to target
That's the joy of
things.
commander.
Ugh.
Yeah,
it's going
I
in my
think that's
playable
the other
deck.
thing. This has to be both modes, or it's just meh.
Mhm.
And if it's both modes, that means you got to have your commander, and then you got to then spend 6 mana. Not saying it's bad. Again, it's just like this is one of the wills where I feel like if I wouldn't be happy unless I got both modes. But like Jessica's will, I'm happy with one or like either side. I'm happy with either side of numerous other wills. Like even Will of the Jeskai, I'm okay with just one of the sides, right? So this is one of the ones where I feel like I want both, just because of how much I'm spending on it.
I think I like
Yeah,
it more than Krim, but not as high as Seth and Phil.
Not a,
I'm
not
in
a
the middle.
staple.
I'm in the middle.
More for me.
Yeah, more card draw for me and Phil. Well, let's move back to the top of the order.
What?
Grim.
Grim.
Hit us up with another card.
Oh well, speaking of wills, why don't we talk about a juicy one that isn't just a draw spell? Okay, I like Will of the Abzan. Yes, it is just an edict, but it's a super edict that also reanimates. Okay, so let me read what it does. It's 3 and a black. Sorcery, choose one. If you control a commander, you get both modes, yada, yada, yada. Any number of target opponents each sack a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls and loses 3 life. Then, the second mode is return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, this is a zombify, it could be a zombify, it could be an edict, and the edict mode also makes them lose 3, and it's not just kind of like, which sounds like not a lot, but as the aggro decks and as the damage starts pouring on, losing 3 becomes a real thing. And on top of that, it's nice to know that they can't just like get around the edict by having a token, unless that token is like a monstrous size like construct, right? But like it gets their most powerful threat, and then on top of that, if you have your commander out, you now get to bring back one of your best threats, like in the graveyard, of course. So this is a really good rate for 4 mana. This is a really good rate.
I feel like this card's fine. Like, I feel about this like you feel about Will of Temur. Like, we kind of split thoughts on this one where, like, I think it's good. Like, Zombify doesn't really excite me in Commander just because we have Reanimate and like, much cheaper reanimation. So, in Standard, Zombify is like, oh, that's really cheap for reanimation. In Commander, I'm kind of like, 4 to reanimate. That's a little steep. But it's not bad. The Edict mode is kind of the same way. I do like that it hits your opponent for some damage. But isn't Soul Shatter, like, kind of similar, but instant speed? Like, I guess this scales. Is Soul Shatter each opponent? I'd have to read it again. I can't remember.
Opponent,
it is,
but
each opponent.
That one
That's
is Sack's greatest mana
right?
value, I think, right? Is that one mana
I think
value?
it's greatest. I think it's mana value, although that's still like roughly similar to greatest power, right? A lot of times your highest mana value is the highest power.
Sometimes that's the same, but like,
I think I would play this in a casual reanimation deck. Like, if I'm Reanimator and I'm not trying to be like super spiking Tomb Reanimate turn 1 shenanigans, and I'm just kind of playing like a casual, grindy, mid-rangey Reanimator style deck, then I'm definitely interested in this card. I don't think I would just jam it in any deck though, as a like removal spell.
I love this in black decks. What? I would play this.
We're gonna see it a lot, I assume. We talked about this before, just like Will of the Temur. And we compared it to Zat's Will. I think this is a little better, but I think you need to make use of the second mode if you want to play this. Like, if you just say, maybe I reanimate something, because then it's just an overcosted edict, and there might be nothing in your graveyard.
I'm a big edict believer. I'm very much with Krim. I also like. I think anytime like Krim busts out like a 5 edict deck at the table, we just like auto lose to it. Like, I remember when he played Demons and he just like edicted us like 5 times, and we're just like, yep.
I mean, I played.
I think it's like,
but like,
I know. Richard had a take that I actually agree with more and more now, where he was just like, if you want to just like up your win percentage in casual Commander, you just like run more board wipes. And I think that's true. And I think the same can be said about edicts, but edicts have the extra benefit of you can still play aggro and you can still commit to the board without actually having to, like, if you're like a board wipe heavy deck, you have to be like, I'm not committing to the board, I'm just playing Spirited Companions and stuff. Whereas the edicts, you could do whatever you want and then you could just jam them. So I don't know. I think this is another strong one. And the fact that it comes with reanimation too adds a little bit more incentive to run it. Because like it's just not hurting your opponent, it's also furthering your game plan. But yeah, this is a very good one.
I could be casting Damnation for 4 mana. Like, I could just be actually wrapping the entire board.
Yeah.
That cleans
like,
your stuff.
This, like, if you have a big army and you just want to slow down your opponents or just like get rid of blockers.
Okay. Yeah.
No, it's for each opponent. The best thing. Yeah, the best thing from each opponent.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's bad. It's not bad, but I don't know. Cards like this don't really excite. I'm not an Edict believer yet. I haven't been won over to the Edict side of things.
One day.
Oh, all right, Temur, why don't you give us a card?
Speaking of wills, let's just keep talking about wills. This is one of my other favorite new wills. Where is it actually? Oh, there. I can't read. There we go. Will of the Mardu. I was looking at higher mana value, but it's so cheap because it's only 3 mana. It's a 3 mana white
And that's an instant.
The 2 modes are, it's an instant. Yeah, it's a 3-mana white instant. Create a number of 1/1 red warrior creature tokens equal to the number of creatures target player controls. Will of the Mardu, or the second mode is Will of the Mardu deals damage to target creature equal to the number of creatures you control. So the first mode is the one that I'm most excited about. I am a firm believer in token decks that you want to focus your mass token generators at instant speed. Stuff like Secure the Waste, Call the Copper Coats, which is the most similar sounding effect as the Will thing. Even like White Sun Zenith, I'll be happy to run because it allows you to basically bypass sorcery speed board wipes. It removes information from your opponent's zone when you're ready to start alpha striking them or popping off as you were. And it also allows you to hold up mana for interaction, protection, whatever, in case you need that instead of popping this off. So I love instant speed tokens in a can. Token armies in a can. That's number 1. And then number 2, it also comes with removal. So you make a bunch of tokens, and then, hey, I have like 8 creatures now on the battlefield. I just get to snipe whatever you have at the same time, too. So this is like peak for any token deck. I'm just slamming this down, and really, I'm just super happy about it.
It's kind of
Yeah.
funny.
I like that it's any
Yeah.
player. That's
Yeah, you
pretty
could choose yourself. I think Call the Copper Coats is opponents.
Yeah. Yeah,
This
I
is-
will
good. I
say
mean, you can choose your opponents is the important one. Like it's
Well, if you already
Otherwise,
have like
somebody
10
else is popping off.
creatures,
just to win more.
yeah.
Yeah, but
The
that's win more, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say the only thing I would kind of be concerned about is it is kind of bad after a Wrath or something. Like both
Mhm.
modes kind of want someone
Mhm.
to have a lot of creatures on the battlefield, which kind of makes it the opposite of like the card we just talked about, the Abzan one, which is actually fine when there's not a ton of stuff going on the battlefield. We're sacking stuff, you're getting something back from the graveyard. So there are going to be situations where this is kind of going to be a dead card, but there's also going to be situations where this is going to kind of win you the game. Just add a huge amount of power to the battlefield for 3 mana. So I think I'm with Temur that in a token deck, I would play this pretty much every time. But I would know that there's going to be sometimes it's going to be stuck in my hand, probably.
Mm-hmm. But it's 3
I love
mana.
this card.
It's
Yeah,
cheap.
It's
And it's
3 mana.
instant.
It's so
And it's
cheap and
instant.
instant. Like instant. I love. Lock it in. Lock it in. This is like probably my second favorite will of this of the new
Behind Will
wills.
the Teamer, yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. Replace Temur with Abzan, but yeah.
I don't know. There are situations where this does nothing.
It draws a
Like
card off
glitch or
Caretaker's
nothing.
talent fell.
Oh,
Not
Whoa,
there, no,
we're
not
in.
that really. After Rob, it doesn't. Like
yeah,
there
it's
are
not empty
you
board.
play any
situations where there's this stone cold nothing. So just
I can see
it
the
is an
win more
instance of
argument.
I mean,
But-
but like also if somebody wipe the board and then nobody has a creature yet on the battlefield and Swords to Plowshares does Stone Cold nothing, but it's not a knock against. Or like if somebody wipes the board and you're like, oh, I have to
But-
keep pro. It's not doing anything.
no.
now.
So the thing with sword is the purpose of sword is to clean the board of threats, and the board is already cleaned of threats, so that's fine. The purpose of this is to flood the board, and you can do it in this case.
But I'm saying-
and it needs to be done. While swords doesn't need to do the thing. Like, yeah, it is a little nitpicky, but just it is a little situational.
Well, I think Swords is also situational. Or Fox.
It is.
But I could imagine, like,
cheap
let's
pro.
say you're playing tokens, right? You're playing tokens, and you're like, I need to build a big board, and you're hoping to top deck a token producer. You're probably going to be sad if you top deck this over your whatever, White Sun Zenith or whatever your token producer is. But if you've already had a token producer, then you're going to love top decking this because it's going to double your tokens essentially for 3 mana. So I think the like upside is enough that I'm still in for this card in a token deck. But like I said, there's going to be some situations where
Are
it's
you
not
saying
good,
this
but that's
card
true
is
of
like a
lot of cards.
Mondrak?
It's
Where it's a terrible without tokens? Are you just
That's-
comparing it to Mondrak?
but yeah, maybe
You
it's a Mondrak.
you might lower the rating on me if you say that. Then I will
Well,
actually say
You don't wait. You're a Mondrak hater. Wait,
I don't. I
How
think
did I
these
not know
cards
this?
are not very good.
Mm.
Actually, if
I
they are
knew-
4 mana, they're fine.
The
If
I
they're
knew you
four,
hated
like,
doubling season.
I'm a
I
doubling
didn't know you hated
season hater.
Mondrak, but yeah, I knew you
Mondrak's
hated
fine. It
doubling
gives it
season.
indestructible. It's good, and also the new Elspeth's good too. I'm not a
Oh,
hater
yeah.
of those two.
Elspeth's
But
so
anyway.
good. Let's keep moving on our list of commander cards. And I got another brand new one from Tarkir Dragonstorm, which is Ainok Strike Leader. So this is a 2-mana 2/2 dog warrior. It says whenever you attack with this creature and or your commander, for each opponent, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking that player. And then you can sack this creature to give creature tokens that you control indestructible until end of turn. So the thing I like about this card is it is very cheap and aggressive. If you're playing a aggro token style deck, we've seen Adeline, Animpacal, these other creatures that when they attack, they make like a 1/1 for each opponent. They really can pop off because if you're playing a token deck, you're probably gonna have synergies for just having a bunch of bodies on the battlefield, for just like going super wide. And this turns essentially any commander into a pseudo Adeline style effect just by sitting out on the battlefield. And then if you're a token deck, you even get the upside that you can sacrifice this to mostly protect your team. Isn't going to stop a Farewell or a Cyclonic Rift, but it does stop some of the wraths and targeted removal you deal with. So I feel like this card's actually just like super powerful, mostly because it's so cheap. Again, you got to be an aggro token style deck or whatever, but if you're in that shell, I think this is another card that's really, really strong. But I'm curious what you guys think, because this one's also brand new, so we haven't got to play with it very much.
It reads very well. It's so efficient.
For 2 mana.
The wording is kind of weird though. Like when you read both lines in one go, it's like you create a goblin and then sacrifice this creature. You don't sacrifice the goblin, so you sacrifice Ainok Strike Leader.
It's also, you can sack the Strike Leader to protect your tokens. Very good point, because one of the upsides of this is these are not temporary tokens. It's not like mobilized tokens or something where they go away then to turn. Like, if you play a 1-mana commander and then play this turn 2 and attack with your commander, you get 3 1/1s that are going to be there for the rest of the game. Like, that's the dream scenario, but still. And what do you think of this one, Krim?
It's a dog. So
Crimson.
So it's
That's
already
all you needed.
sorry, yeah. Wait, there's text after that? Then okay, sure. I guess the text after that is relevant. I mean, it is really good. Like, I really do like this card. It's super cheap and aggressive. It spawns all those bodies. I'm here for that. And then like you said, it kind of gives you a King Damien, or what is it? Like the Selesnya one. Creature tokens you control.
King Darien, yeah.
King Darien, yeah. When you sack him and stuff like that. So kind of leaning, like, it's in white, so that's the primo color or splash color to make tokens go wild. So this King Darien, your tokens start looking kind of hard to remove outside of a rip.
I just looked at the art on that card. The dog is right. I thought the dog was like the creature that was being ridden, but that's actually like a super ugly cat. The dog is riding the ugly cat.
I was going to say.
I just realized this is a dog riding a cat. Yeah.
I wanted to add on that. The dog is adorable, which is hilarious. But then I was like, I'm so glad that the Ainoks got a glow up in Dragonstorm, because another card that I played before that's an Ainok was Ainok Bonkin. And if you look at the art of that one, that's like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's like you want to say all dogs are good boys, and it is. But like you can't say all dogs are cute, because it's not. And so I'm very proud that Ainok's got a glow up in Dragonstorm, because this one's adorable. And the other one, the Bondkin, look it up if you haven't seen the art. Ooh.
Yeah.
But like, have you seen Equilibrium Adept from the main set? It's like a Shiba Inu monk dog warrior. So the art of that is also really cute.
Yes. Oh my god, yes.
Photoshop though.
Yeah.
It's got that underfluff. Oh, nice.
All right, let's move on. Phil, what do you got for us?
All right, I got almost a bit of a staple here. It is Loyal Apprentice. 2 mana, 2/1 haste, and at the beginning of combat of your turn, if you control your commander, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. That token gains haste until end of turn. This one is so much for 2 mana. So it's a artifact, it's a token, it's a attacking creature, it's a creature that most likely deals damage. It doesn't get sacrificed, but there's so many commanders that want this, that this is one of the most, might be the most played card on this list, maybe. Because it's just good in so many strategies. Like, it triggers your Torsky effects. It's an artifact. So It is just so much for 2 mana.
I think you sold me on this because this is a card that I don't really play. I've seen this card many times. I'm always like, it's just a 1/1. I gotta have my commander. But when you
2/1.
describe like or a 2/1, it's a 2/1 rather. But it's just a small creature. It only makes a 1/1 creature, like a 1/1 Thopter token. And I was kind of like, is that really enough? I'm getting a single 1/1 flyer each turn. Is that really that exciting to me? But when you mention like all the synergies of it, now I can kind of see why it would be appealing if you have token synergies that's triggering your Caretaker's talent, maybe your Winota or Arabella, where you just need the bodies on the battlefield. So now that I think more about the synergies, I'm kind of like, okay, maybe this card's not as bad as I thought, because I thought this card was kind of unplayable. But now I'm coming around a little bit. What do you guys think about this one, Tomer and Grim?
I cut this one a lot, but like I actually agree. I used to cut this one a lot from like when I do like precon upgrades and stuff, but I've actually come around to it. It's like a very good early drop. It's not super flashy or anything, but it's just like a very good engine for 2 mana. If you can consistently have your commander out and you care about tokens or just like dealing combat damage, I think it's quite good, actually.
I love this card. I mean, I play it. I do play it specifically in my Goro Goro and Satoru deck because it just spawns dragons, right?
My God.
So like there, it
Some
is
look
a
as well.
very good card, but there's a few other like strategies that like just reward you for having the extra bodies, right? Like it just like going wide strategies. So I don't know. I like this. This is just another card in what is an aggressive game plan, and it's cheap. I think that's the main thing. It costs 2 mana, and I love that. So it gets you down on the ground early.
Well, let's move back to the top of the order. Final time through. Kramer, back to you. Why don't you give us a card that's good with your commander?
All right. So time has passed, right? Time has passed. People change, And, so do their opinions, I guess. So I used to be okay. So we talked at the beginning of the podcast that Fierce Guardianship, Deflecting Swat, Deadly Relic, these are all amazing cards. And the one of that cycle that's always left out of the conversation is Obscuring Haze, which is 2 and a green instant. If you control a commander, it's free. Prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn by creatures your opponents control. Yeah, I think I'm a believer in this card now. I went from being an absolute hater, laughing about how bad this was, and like, sure, maybe it's not Fierce Guardianship, but like, it is really good. Like the amount of games where it's like, oh man, okay, like people really will go all out, full send at you or send just enough, right? Assuming that you're dead because you're tapped out, all that stuff. And yeah, the free fog is really nice. It doesn't need to do more than that. It's just a free fog.
And like a really good fog. Like it's worded in the best way to word a fog as well, where it's like preventing everything that would be
You could block
by
and
creatures.
actually kill some creatures on the way too, which is nice.
Because it's only it's only your opponent's creatures that are having the damage fizzled. Yeah.
And then if they're like, trying to pin you down or anything like that, it fogs that as well. So
there's never been a card that convinced me so much from unplayable to staple. And this is by far the card that I play the most on Clash from the cards here, just because I actually don't play it in my commander decks. I'm just so scared on Clash. I need it if I play green. There's so many times when like, I can draw 1 card. If it's Obscuring Haze, I live. Otherwise, I'm dead.
Wait, you don't run in your paper decks? You do not fear the pickup games?
I play like Constant Mist sometimes, and like Glacial Chasm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this the best fog in Commander?
No,
that would
Constant
be
Mist and Glacial Chasm. We're just
But
Glacial Chasm doesn't count.
Glacial Chasm doesn't really
That's not a fog.
Yeah,
that's a fog.
Exactly
Exactly
a
rotation
fog.
it out.
Okay.
Yeah, are you gonna spend all your game changer slots on a fog though? That seems kind of brutal.
Right,
That's just
crazy.
KP Glacial Chasm.
Okay. How about this? Maybe it's the most disrespected card in Commander because you always see Fierce Guardianship in these cards be super expensive. They're considered staples, And no one's ever talking about Obscuring Haze. And if you look on EDH Rec, not that many people play Obscuring Haze, like just as far as like the percentage of Death that are playing it. So I feel it worse. Maybe this isn't the best fog. It's definitely the most underrated fog, I would say, and actually one of the most underrated cards in Commander.
I'm
a believer now too. I really like this card a lot. I was definitely a hater
We've all
of Grim.
come around.
I was a hater of Grim, but it's just like a free fog is just good. I mean, usually if you die, it's because of combat damage, and being able to be fully tapped out and still have an answer to it is nice. It's good. But I will say there's one if you like Obscuring Haze, maybe I can sell you on another fog. Maybe it's almost time.
Right.
I put
Yeah,
this
I think I've
this
seen
in
it.
my
Shield
my
Temur, it's
Edric
not
deck.
happening.
I'm not
No,
playing Fate.
No. This is new tech also in green.
First off, Ink Shield is great, Seth.
Ink
by
Shield
the
is
way.
actually the best fog. Actually, that is the best fog. It actually wins you the game immediately. Okay, this card though, Snag, 4-mana green instant, but you may discard a forest card rather than pay the spell's mana cost, and it prevents
it's
all
that
damage
cycle.
that would be dealt by unblocked creatures this turn. I put it in my Edric deck because I just draw so many cards that like I'm pinched on mana always. It's the truth. You gotta be heavy and green.
People, would you play it in a deck that isn't Greed Lord 69-420, like that draws a bunch of cards? Like, would you
What
play
do
in
you
a normal deck where you?
That's a normal
the
deck.
cards
You're
are real?
describing a normal deck, right?
Okay. Oh, it's true. Yeah, every
That
game
is
If I'm
sounds
not
like-
if I'm not drawing 5 cards a turn, I might as well just concede, right? Like
yeah, that's not,
Wait, is it any forest or basic
any
forest?
any forest.
Yeah,
You
that makes it
duels,
way
triumphs.
better, right? Shocks and triumphs. So even in like a 3-color deck, you're probably going to have something to discard. I actually really like that. I think that's a really good
I don't
sleeper
know.
pick. I'm
But
gonna have
how
to.
many
I'm gonna have
fogs
to
It's
try it.
can
sexy
you
and
run
foil
in a-
too. It's
That's
ultra
kind of
foil.
that's the issue, right? I
Ooh,
really want
I gotta check
1
it.
to maybe 2 fogs at
Wait,
the
what's the
max
name?
in my deck.
Snag.
Yeah. So I really want 1 to 2 max in my deck, and I feel like I have Obscuring Haze, and then you have like the buyback one occasionally, and then I don't know if I get far enough down the list to actually put it in my deck, but I do think it sounds like it would be pretty powerful.
You also have to be green heavy because you
Oh
need
my God,
to
it's so
discard a
cheap.
forest.
You got to have the forest, yeah.
But like if
I
you're
just
2-color, I
snagged
think
one
it's
for
fine.
$2. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it's so cheap. I'm not saying
the old border
Energy
foil
Finance.
for $2. That's such a steal. Oh my
Snag
God,
it,
the
Phil,
other ones
snag
were
it.
so much more expensive. Oh, it's
Snag it.
already in there. Okay, thanks for the tip. I just want to look at it. Let's see if I play it. Probably on
Tomer's
Flash. Let's see.
grabbing his
Snag.
off the shelf. He's got a whole pile of them
Yeah,
over
yeah,
there. He's
yeah.
been waiting for this day.
Yeah,
It's so
going-
beautiful.
going
It's so
long on
beautiful, you
these.
guys. Oh, there you go. Look. Basking
Yes.
in radiance.
That does look nice.
Yes.
Oh, well, Tomer,
Snag minute.
you're up. Why don't you give us a non-snag card that works well with your commander?
Right, it
That's
wasn't
a
even
good question. We got. Oh, okay. This is a background. Backgrounds can be they're enchantments that you can have as your commander, as long as they're paired with a creature that says choose a background. But this one I just run in a bunch of other decks. It's Guild Artisan. It's a 2-mana red enchantment background that says commander creatures you own have. When this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than that player, you create 2 treasure tokens. So as long as you're attacking the opponent who has the most life amongst your opponents, you could have the most life. It just matters which opponent has the most life, which of the opponents have the most life. You make 2 treasure tokens. I really like this in non-green decks because outside of green, you got to kind of work for your mana generation. So if you're in like a deck with a non-green commander that likes getting aggro, likes attacking, it also doesn't have to deal combat damage, by the way. You just have to attack. So it could be chump block. It doesn't matter. Then paying 2 mana to repeatedly make 2 mana every single turn is just good value. And then on top of that, if you have like treasure synergies or whatever, that's extra. But like, for example, I have an Inti deck that's mono red, and my Inti deck likes attacking. So I just play this on turn 2 or like as a 2-drop. And then immediately I get that mana back to me, right? Like you can play this and then swing, you make 2 treasures. And then every other subsequent turn, you make 2 treasures over and over again. So in that regard, I think it's a very good value.
I don't
Seth
know what
has
to think of
attack with it.
backgrounds.
Backgrounds are like, I like them as a commander, but I have not played one in the 99 yet. It's crazy if you have partners. I think all the backgrounds get, literally double as good if you have partners.
I feel like these cards are just not built for me. I don't play my commanders and attack my
you're right.
commanders enough.
What
But
if you
I
had
feel
partners?
like
You have,
I'm
like,
just
Temur
not
or
the
something.
intended audience for backgrounds.
I
But
think
if
all of
I'm
these-
playing a deck with them, like but those ones are like to the extreme because they don't do anything unless you have your commander. At least like a will, if you don't have your commander, it still does something. But this is
Sure.
like if you don't have a commander, it does nothing. I think they're really cool. I think backgrounds are a super cool design. They just don't really fit the play style I play. I forget to play my commander too much.
I like the background. I think this might be the most like universal background. I could probably say, like, if you're a red deck, you obviously have a commander, and outside of Seth, you probably will attack with it at some point, right? So
yeah.
I think this is a good one, but like there's much stronger backgrounds, but they're for very specific decks, right? Like, so like the archaeologist one that burns for when you cast things from anywhere, like from exile or outside of your hand. You have the artifact eccentric one, right? So the backgrounds are very, very like archetype specific, like very specific for me. So because of that, this is probably by far the best one to play, and then it just doesn't pop off the page, I guess. So
I
I maybe
Seth at least. Norin. You play Norin, you attack with Norin?
Okay.
This
See,
appears-
in that deck, and actually I was thinking about it, I would probably play in the Rograk deck. I had to, the Rograk Yoshimaru deck. Like, in the right deck, I would be behind these cards. But for me, it's got to be like a deck where I'm actively focused on like attacking with my commander, which just isn't most of my decks, but in Norin, that sounds so good. All right, let's move on to my last pick. My initial pick was Hellkite Courser because I thought I was being really witty because our original theme was cards that want you to control a commander, and Hellkite Courser, when it enters, it literally like makes you control your commander and puts on the battlefield.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, oh, it literally makes you control your commander, but I don't think it actually fits the theme. So I want to give a shout out to some cards that I mentioned briefly earlier. These are cards that don't go in most decks, but they do something that's pretty unique in Commander, which is reward you for playing really expensive commanders, which is the Vision Cycle. So there's 5 of these cards. They're printed in, I don't even know, MIC? What is MIC, Commander Temur? Do you know? I don't even know what set this was off the top of my head.
Oh, it's Midnight Hunt. It's the Midnight Hunt.
The forgettable Midnight Hunt Commander Cycle.
So they were good, actually.
It's a whole cycle of cards. I will give you, for example, one that I think Krim will like, because Krim likes these kind of shenanigans. Visions of Duplicy, which is a 3-mana sorcery that says exchange control of 2 target creatures you don't control. So you can just kind of mess with your opponent's stuff. But then it has flashback of 10 mana, but it costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest mana value of a commander you own or a commander in the command zone. So if you have a 8-mana commander, you can flash this back for 2 mana. Same with the whole cycle. That's how they're all formatted. The black one lets each opponent or target opponent puts a creature of their choice from their graveyard into play under your control. So it's like weird reanimation. The green one puts a counter on something and doubles the counters. The white one makes a human token for each creature you control. The red one makes each opponent sack an artifact, and for each artifact sacrifice, you get a treasure token. And they all have the same flashback cost. So these cards I don't play very often because I don't play that many 6, 7, 8 mana commanders. But I feel like if you are playing really expensive commanders, these are some of the coolest cards to add to your deck just because they really reward you for playing that high mana value commander. While everyone else is curving out and playing their cheap, efficient stuff, you got this reward. Even better if you can mill them over, because the flashback cost with an expensive commander is actually cheaper than the natural cost on most of these cards. But I just wanted to give them a shout out because I hope Wizards makes more of these. I feel like these are like maybe a little bit on the weak side. Like they went a little bit safe maybe with some of the effects on them, but I think it's a cool thing to reward. So
I like the red one.
Yeah,
a
the
lot.
effects are boring, but the idea is great. I just want more of them. I checked them when you mentioned them before. I checked them for Maelstrom Wanderers. I checked the Temur ones. They all are like kind of niche.
They are
But
very
if they give me
niche.
something generically good with this, oh yes.
I like the
But then
red
it might
one.
just be too good.
I put it in Melik. I think Melik's like a 5-drop, so it has a decent. It's not like the hugest mana discount, but it's a pretty decent one. And
Yep.
then also I run like Quiet Speculation, and they all have flashback, so like you can immediately put it into the
Tutor
graveyard
'em
and get
up.
that
Oh,
discount.
nice. Yeah.
So, and also it's ramp a little bit. I mean, it's not really ramp. It's like a little bit of removal, a little bit of ramp. So it's not bad. But yeah,
I like the blue one. I think the blue one's actually kind of fun. Because yeah,
swap two
like
commanders.
I like Wrong Way. I like those kind of cards. So
Yeah.
this already kind of does that on the front side. And if you get a flashback, that's sweet. Like I just wish this cycle, was stronger. But like
Mhm.
y'all have mentioned, the idea is there. I think there's got to be something instead of flashback, like maybe if like the commander's cost is like 6 or more, this effect
it-
does X more
double
than it
or
would
something.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, that could be cool. Before I move on to Phil's last pick, let me ask you about one other card that isn't part of the cycle but works similarly. Stinging Study, 5-mana instant. You draw X cards,
Oh, yeah.
lose X life, where X is the mana value of a commander that you own on the battlefield or in the command zone. I feel like this has to be good, right? I haven't played it very much, but it's instant speed. If you have like a 6 or a 7 mana commander, is this not just one of the strongest card draw effects that you could play in a black deck?
I think once you
So,
get to like 5, it's like
yes.
very, very good.
Yeah, it's very good. I would say like even like 5 mana to draw 4. I think 4 I would even be okay with.
I guess 5 mana draw 4 instant speed's not bad, yes.
But the problem here is that you do lose that life, and so
Mhm.
you are the slowest deck there, right? So there's a chance you've
It's
been
true.
clocked a bit. So sometimes I've when I was playing this, I would draw it in points where, if I cast this, I am actually going to die. I'm going to go to 1 or something like that.
Life is a resource
So,
crim.
yeah, I guess that's fair. I guess that's fair. But that is the only thing. But otherwise, I think Stinging Study, and if it came out today, I think it would cost 1 less.
I think it's the strongest of the list, honest, or of the ones we just like, or the visions. I run it in Selenia, and it's already good because Selenia's a 5-drop, so draw a 5 is good, and lose life is like part of the plan. I also, the best home for it in my decks was I used to run it in my Dragon deck. And that's kind of like the thing with these like high mana value things is like the decks that are going to use it. Yeah, the decks that are going to use it are going to be the ones that are like overpowered already. So Dragon's like 9 mana. It's eminent, so I don't even care about casting it. Who cares about its mana value? And there's 5 mana draw 9 at instant speed is very good. I took it out because it was in my Changeling deck, and now I have a restriction that every single card has to reference a creature type. So I took it out. But like it used to be like, instant speed draw 9 is like just kind of stupid. But yeah.
That's pretty good, yeah.
But if you're playing Dragon, you should put it in there.
All right, let's move on to our final pick. Phil, take us home.
All right, this one's another. I'm kind of bringing some classic cards here. This one we have all seen, and it's very good, specifically on your commander, and it referenced the commander twice on the card. It is, actually, with the name as well, Commander's Plate. 1 mana. Equipped creature gets +3/+3 and has protection from each color that's not in your commander's color identity. Then equip for 5 and then equip commander for 3. Now, I usually don't play many equipments. I don't really play this a lot, but that's on me because I really don't play Voltron decks. But man, does this really work if your commander wants to be equipped. And it's fetchable with Urza Saga. It protects your commander, buffs your commander. It is efficient. That's a pretty good equipment. And I do have the Iron Man version, so I should maybe play it more. But I don't have any commander that wants to be equipped in my paper collection. But I've run it on Clash, and I mean it's almost a staple, I think.
It's an all-star
very
monocolor decks, right? Like the
Yeah,
less
yeah.
colors you have,
monocolor.
the better it is. So I think when this came out, this was like a really expensive equipment. In like
It's still $25.
Oh yeah, it's still absurdly pricey, and you know what? I like it. It rewards you once again for having your commander. The equip cost is respectable. It's only 3, and getting that protection is big, and it only costs 1 to play itself. So it's not like this ridiculous thing where like how a sword costs like 5. The one less does matter, right? This costs only 4 to equip and play, or play and equip. So I really like this card, and obviously has an Iron Man armor, so I'm doubly attached.
Yeah.
I think
It's funny that the Iron Man version is the cheapest one, I think.
I'll take it.
Ugh.
That's great.
Yeah, it's good for you.
That's
I think-
great.
it's also not just the protection stopping target removal is nice, but also it gives nice evasion too. But I was wondering, so in one color decks, obviously we're running it. 2 color decks, how do you guys feel? What about what about 3 color decks? What limit would you run? How many colors would you run before you're like, I don't really like this in this deck?
Does your
I
3
think
color
2
deck
is still-
play? If your 3 color deck has black, then I am not playing it there, because the one thing you want is to have protection from black. I could maybe forgive white, maybe, right? Like white is obviously really good as well, but black is the main color that you want protection from. And then like other than that, 2 colors is great. 2 colors is great, as long as, again, it's not like you're playing blue-black. I like it in some 3 colors. Like, I could forgive this in Naya.
I feel like for me, in monocolor, I think it's really good in non-equipment decks where you can play it in kind of any deck that wants to protect your commander, buff your commander. Once I get to 2 or 3 colors, then I really need, like, I need to be an equipment deck, or like maybe
true.
Wolverine or something as a 2-color deck. Like specific decks that really want the effect. So I think the bar, like, the more colors you get, the higher the bar gets for me to put this in the deck. In 3 colors, I need a really, like, a very specific commander that really needs it. When in monocolor, I think if you have a cheap commander that can wear an equipment, this is like fine to jam in almost any deck as a way to protect and buff your commander.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean too. Like Naya, not Naya like good stuff. This is like Naya Voltron, right? Like then sure, I would maybe play this. But yeah, I think it's like 1 or 2 colors. One obviously is the best, but
Or colorless.
oh,
Colors is
Yeah.
actually
Stick it on your
Yo.
Eldrazi.
it's called PogChamp.
Anyway, I think that is our list of cards that kind of go nuts once you have your commander. Let us know what you think. Which of these cards do you play? Which cards that we didn't talk about that care about your commander do you like? I know there's a pretty big list. If you search on Scryfall or EDH Rec, you'll see a bunch of cards like this. So let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it, and we'll be back next week for another one. So until then, have a great week, and this is a crew signing out.